Admiral's Log. As the ever-shifting tides of conflict ebb and flow, 1947 unfolds with an ominous intensity. The war with Germany, a spectre on the horizon, now descends upon us with an unmistakable fervor. Their invasion of US-held Lithuania stands as a stark reminder that the cauldron of battle brooks no respite. Yet, the conundrum of war, as I find myself ensnared within it, is one of priorities and limitations. Our focus remains steadfastly trained upon the embattled shores of Spain, where our forces labor in pursuit of a critical objective. The United States Navy, spread thin across the vast expanse of the Mediterranean, stands as a testament to our commitment to that very mission. However, it is this commitment that, while resolute, has now left us with an agonizing impotence in the face of this German onslaught. With our fleet ensnared in the Spanish theater, we stand unable to lend support to the valiant defenders of Lithuania. The weight of responsibility bears down upon me as I grapple with the knowledge that, in this moment, the course of history is shaped not only by action, but by the absence thereof. The lamentations of inaction resonate in my heart, echoing the stark reality that the very principle we fight to protect can be tested by the relentless storms of war. Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to episode 25. The situation is pretty calm at the moment. It's July 1946, I'm still at war with plenty of foreign powers, especially the German war, something I need to pay attention to. But we also need to pay attention to the fleet. Now there is one particular ship design class that I have not overhauled in a very long time. It's the North Carolinas. The last time these old ships had an upgrade, and they date back to the 1930s, it was in 1941, so that's a while ago. Now I almost did this off screen, but I know that some of you really like to see how I readjust ships for, let's say, a different era. How I adjust these things to make them useful still. Even though, in the previous episode, it was shown that these things still have punch and still do a lot of damage. Now, the North Carolina is going to get a different type of engine. Right now she's running on diesels, but I have access to the gas turbines, and these things are just a lot lighter. The diesels gives you 48 horsepower per ton. This gives you 190, pushing my weight actually down quite a bit. I'm going to make that even better by adding a newer type of armor, Modern Armor 2. This reduces armor weight by a bit, but it also increases armor strength by a few percentage points. So with that, the ship should have even more longevity. Everything else, I think, is pretty good. I really got the latest tech when it comes to loading systems, torpedoes, turret rotation mechanisms. But target acquisition can be improved, so let's give her a better radar rangefinder. Let's make sure that she picks up on torpedoes quickly. And, well, I don't think I've ever lost one of these things due to incoming shell fire. So I don't need to do too much about that. I can give her a better torpedo blister, and I can increase her speed some. Because this older Dreadnought is doing 27 knots, which I think is pretty respectable. But we can probably push her to 32... Okay, maybe 31. 31. And all this is somehow only going to take my shipyard workers 3 months. Overhauling the whole thing. From tearing out the diesel engines, installing the gas turbines, removing all of her armor plating and installing new armor plating, increasing the torpedo blister. These people do a lot of work in 3 months. And I'm very happy that they're on my side. Now, this last bit of tonnage... I think superstructure armor, considering we're facing mostly cruisers, can help. Like, it's 0.6, it won't do that much. But if it just stops another couple of HE shells, I'm perfectly happy with that. We have a slight 4-weight offset, but it's really nothing that concerns me that much. I can, I guess, adjust it a bit. But the problem lies more so in let's say, the full design of the ship. Replacing towers... is not something I really feel like I need to do. And shifting this thing back, shifting the engine back, yeah, that ought to fix the balance issues there. So, that is the overhauled North Carolina. From 1941, we're going to a 1946 refit, and in 3 months, we're going to have the first one of those ships ready. There is at least one ship that can get overhauled, and that's the Maryland. The Maryland is a ship that I was kind of looking for, because I thought I have a battleship somewhere, and I do. It's all the way over in Narvik. So this ship is all the way north in Norway. I can overhaul her pretty quick, and then either send her off to Spain to help in the invasion, or I can have her go on a world journey and assist in East Asia. Because keep in mind, I have some ships here, but the Chinese do so too. They have just 11 light cruisers. That's the entirety of their fleet. So it's not necessarily that impressive, but it's still not something I really want to have come into contact with just 4, or rather soon 5 DDs and 1 heavy cruiser. As for the Germans, right now I don't really have any naval capacity to spare. The Germans do seem to have a lot of their navy bottled up around Germany itself. Based on what I'm seeing here, they're doing some patrols on the North Sea, and that's about the extent of it. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of German ships patrolling here. The Caribbean used to be an interesting area where you could always find AI ships, but it's been completely deserted. And even around Africa, I'm not seeing any ships. Why am I checking around Africa? Well, the Germans are also at war with the British, so the Strait of Gibraltar's off limits to them, and that means they're going to have to go all the way around. Now, the Spanish invasion is fresh underway. Right now it's not looking good. I hope that my Marines, with the fire support from my ships, can make something happen. But all I can do now is sit and wait. Next ship to overhaul is going to be the Scranton class. The Scrantons last seen some service in 1942, and that doesn't even include all of them. They can definitely use a bit more tech. I think with a better engine, I might be able to squeeze in an extra turret, which would give them a nice boost in firepower. Of course, they already have the latest tech. They got Mark 5s, 9-inch guns. Right now they're slightly overweight, and that probably has to do with some armor and some additions. If I just change this to gas turbines and upgrade the armor, all of a sudden I'm looking at 1100 tons available. Now, with these turrets weighing only 318 tons, if I shift this one a bit, and then... No, that probably doesn't work. Maybe this one? There. Very nice. So now they have a nice boost in firepower. The issue is now going to be to balance this out, and if possible, to throw in a better type of funnel, because they're not running the best efficiency. I'm looking at a long funnel over here. That's this one. Got a 43 capacity, and if I can add, like, not sure if it's gonna fit. No, you cannot put too large. You cannot put too large wide either. And I probably already went over this to figure out if I can get this changed. The answer is most likely no, because these things have this weird, like, side addition to the funnel. So that makes it really difficult to get something other than... Was that the large funnel 1? Yeah, large funnel 1 goes on there. So we got a 96% engine efficiency, which is a slight upgrade. I'd love to add 2 funnels side by side. Even the wide funnels probably won't fit. And even if they do, it's not going to be better. It's going to be 37, and this is 43. So we'll just have to run with a slight deficit in engine efficiency. Although, I could make the case it's not even a deficit. Because you get a 96% engine efficiency, which gives me a 45% acceleration buff. And I don't really feel that the engine efficiency stat is very good this way. I think it should be engine efficiency is 100, you get no buffs, you get no debuffs. Engine efficiency is, let's say, 150, you start to see numbers like these. Engine efficiency is 50%, you're going to see stats like these, but in the red. I don't quite understand why we're looking at stats like this when my engine efficiency really isn't that spectacular. And it's even listed in the same color as, hey dude, you got a pitch problem. Like, you got an engine efficiency problem. No, I don't have an engine efficiency problem. My engine efficiency is actually rather good. The pitch, however, is not very good. Like, it's the same color. The only green stat that I get from that is that I decelerate faster. Well, that's great. But my acceleration my turning rate, my accuracy, it's all pretty bad. So that's something that they ideally will change. Now, when it comes to firepower, these ships are really doing quite well. I don't feel like they need a whole lot more there. They got a Generation 3 radar, they got a Generation 3 sonar now. I can give them more torpedo launchers. Well, I'm not so sure I can, actually. Because these... Oh yeah, these will fit. Good. So that's more torpedoes. That does not, however, balance the ship out. And adding a torpedo launcher here, I think is just going to get in the way for the main turret. Considering how few torpedoes I actually hit, I think having the torpedo launchers restrict the firing arc of the main turret is largely unacceptable, so I won't do that. Let's shift things slightly. Balance it out. That barely moves the needle, sadly. There we go, 0.3. That's the aft weight offset. It changed the pitch to, well, like 1% less or something. Really not that spectacular, but by condensing the ship slightly, I did gain a slightly smaller citadel, meaning that I don't have to spend as much of my armor weight protection for bow and stern. So that's nice. I can give them even more armor belt now. Like 10-inch main armor belt. That's, I think, that's more than some battleships, but it's a heck of a lot of armor. Let's give them 9 and 9. And by adding all this additional armor in the... Well, let's say in the midsection of the ship, like the center of mass, I think that is... Yep, there we go. It's making my pitch go better. It's making my pitch better. So if I... Whoops. If I go 7, 7, 14? No, it's a bit high. 13.5. There. I'm actually 2 tons. My pitch is now good. My engine efficiency is not as bad as it used to be. The pitch does mean I'm still looking at some slight debuffs, but it's not as bad as it was, while still adding more armor to the main belt of the ship, which, considering this is an all-or-nothing armor scheme, is a very important bit of armor to add on to. The rest of the ship, I feel, is fine. Having a better auxiliary engine is always nice, but it adds quite a bit of weight. Speed, good, 34 knots, means they can keep up with the rest of the fleet. They have 28,000 kilometer range, operational range. I've never run into trouble with these ships, that they ran out of fuel. So that shouldn't be an issue. They got an anti-torp 3 blister, anti-flood 3 reinforced bulkheads. I'm perfectly happy with this new version of the Scrantons. The real question is, do we even have any Scrantons at the docks? Like, are there any actual Scrantons that I can replace or that I can refit? I'm not so sure. Let's see, do we have any ships? Yeah, we got St. Louis, Saratoga, and Memphis. Alright, you girls are gonna get replaced, or rather refit. Wait, they're all from 1930? Yeah, okay, maybe base 1930 design, but they surely aren't that anymore. Now, the shipyards are currently hard at work, doing all sorts of different things. We're refitting a couple of these Scrantons. We got that refit underway for the Maryland. We got the repairs happening for Sovereign, Rupertus, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Sigsbee. And we are building a few new ships. The first one is expected to come out in 28 months. That's the Odyssey. Odyssey-class battleship with 8 20-inch guns. Is that compensating for something? Yeah, probably is. Is it too big of a gun on a ship like this? Yeah. The reason I put these things on here is because at some point I ran into a French monster battleship. It sunk the Titan really without breaking a sweat, and I don't want to let that happen to the rest of the fleet. So, I'm building these 132,000-ton behemoths, which are going to be taking on enemy super battleships, if I can force such an encounter. Because, you know, I can have these things in a task force, and the game can go, yeah, no, that's cute, you got the ship in the right place, but we're just going to send in 5 TDs. For absolutely no reason whatsoever. So, a couple of ships refit. When it comes to the rest of them, like, I don't really need to refit Sovereign, she's fine. Liberty-class cruisers, I don't even think I have any Liberties left. Because I believe that I've refit... No, Yeah, no, I do have a few of them. There's one in the South Pacific. And we got the New Orleans in the Bering Sea. Okay. These are very old cruisers, and I don't really feel like I have much of a need for them anymore. So I'm going to scrap those. The other two are at sea in the North Atlantic, so I'll keep them there. We got the 3 Defiants remaining. Defiant, Baltimore, and Chattanooga. I don't really know what to do with those, because I can't exactly refit them. We got a whole bunch of Scrantons. We have the Ambassadors. And the Ambassador class have just come into service. These things are armed with 6 11-inchers, and especially the ones in Haiphong, and yeah, no, the ones in Haiphong could be very useful in dealing with the Chinese. So let's send out California, Colombia, and Washington to the East Asia area. I don't know if they'll actually encounter something, but rather have them there and not need them than the other way around. Where the Chinese Navy is at the moment, I don't know. They're probably holed up in their port somewhere. Yeah, there's one there. That's curious. They got no further ports. Where's the Chinese Navy? Did, in the meanwhile, somebody sink them all? No, they got 10 ships, 10 cruisers. Are they playing some sort of smoke and mirrors game? Hiding their ships from view. And then when you least expect it, they go, aha, and they send a task force after your unsuspecting destroyer. Yeah, I have no idea where the Chinese are at. They have absolutely no business being here. But, oh, wow. 2 cruisers? 1 cruiser? Who are the Chinese fighting? Oh, everybody. Yeah, that's probably why they're not at home. They're doing expeditions with 1 cruiser at a time. So they got a war going with the British, with the French, with the Italians, the Austro-Hungarians, and the Japanese. And the thing that they decide to do is not to defend their home waters. No, 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 no. We're not going to take on the Japanese. No, no, no. We're going to send expeditions to the west of Africa. For reasons that completely confound me. Anyway, let's see what battle comes up next. Well, here's a first. I have transports. The enemy is threatening Klaipeda, and I have no defenses. I have no ships. So 10 of my transports are facing 4 German heavy cruisers, 2 Orion class, and 2 York class. And I have no defense. So I'm going to lose 10 transports. Giving the Germans a few victory points, but also damaging the port of Klaipeda. Now, I generally don't know what that damage really means. Like, is that gonna cost me a ton of port capacity, or... Because I don't believe that the port capacity really took that big of a hit. The Germans are invading here. They're making a lot of progress, so I think Lithuania is soon going to fall. They still have a ton of men. I don't have enough to stop them. And that means I also don't really care about any damage to the port here, because I simply can't stop them. Stationing a ship here is not going to make any kind of a difference. The German fleet is here with 5 battleships. Initially I was thinking, well, that ship that I'm refitting here, the Maryland, I can send her when she's done, but not against 5 battleships. The Maryland might be able to take on a bunch of the cruisers and pretty swiftly deal with those, but not 5 battleships. That looks very uncomfortable. The invasion here is looking slightly better after 3 turns. 39%, whereas it was 31%. The French group still make absolutely no progress, 0% advance, but it does seem like it's a new offensive, because neither party has lost anything. The Russians are also on the move, invading both Galicia, Hungary... Hungary is getting invaded twice. Galicia is getting invaded once. And as the Russians are moving south from eastern Poland, the Germans are moving east from Bohemia, Moravia to eastern Poland, as well as western Poland. So yeah, Germany taking western Poland, or, well, Poland in general. Nothing new under the sun. The Germans apparently cannot get enough of threatening and promptly sinking my transports. By doing this, however, they're giving me a very nice insight into their fleet. This is that group of 5 battleships that I'm looking at. Ostfriesland class, armed with 14.1-inch guns. They're not very quick, 30 knots. I mean, it's okay for a battleship, but battleships this era are generally faster. They have an okay amount of bulkheads at many, regular crew training, lots of secondaries in the form of 1.7, so not that dangerous unless you park yourself right next to them. They just have a lot of them. And they also got 1 Odin-class battleship. Sounds very impressive, practically isn't. It only displaces 38,000 tons, which is less than most of my battle cruisers at this point. Armed with 13.1-inch guns. These guys 14.1, so the Germans don't really seem to subscribe to the whole large gun plan. They also got a couple of those heavy cruisers, the Yorks, a bunch of light cruisers of the Regensburg class. There's a lot of attention on these few transports, so again, the port of Klaipeda, and I can't stop them. I am working with 16-inch shells against the Spanish transports. Not really that interesting, but you gotta go through these battles anyway. Well, I mean, you can auto-resolve them. We do have a battle coming up here. It's 1 battle cruiser, the Nebraska, the Sentinel class, versus the Moltke, Prince Adalbert class. This 1-on-1 is pretty interesting. We displace pretty much the same. 40,000 versus 40,000. My speed, 34 knots. Theirs, 32.8. My guns, 12-inch guns. Their guns, 13-inch guns. This is going to get pretty close, depending on how I play this. Alright, first thing is to set the Nebraska to a lower speed. We're going to cruise at full speed. Based on range and my shells, I'm thinking HE might be a better shot. No pun intended. Because I don't exactly know what the armor scheme is on that ship, but I suspect it's not going to be enough to stop a plunging fire HE shell. Engagement range is 21, let's say 22.5 kilometers, so I can pen about 9 inches of deck armor. That might look like it's a lot, but I'm not so sure. Because in this era, most navies will have at least 100%, 40% armor buff, potentially more. My armor on my deck, let's say foredeck is 5-inch, plus 149%. So we're looking at, if I'm not mistaken, 12 inches of armor on the foredeck. So that means I can still stop my own shell unless I'm firing armor piercing. I don't know if the Germans have armor that is of similar quality or not. Looking at their design, yeah, partial... Oh, we're looking at the foredeck and forebelt. So we're right on that edge of it's still plunging fire or it's not. Interesting to see, though. They got the funnel, but it's not in the regular funnel slot. That's a bit curious. Now, I'm not sure exactly what I did wrong, but I managed to push the pause button. So the battle has been going on for a bit. We've closed to about 8.5 kilometer range. Nebraska has taken some damage and appeared to be losing the fight early game, up until the point where I closed the gap and angled in. So by going bow in, I'm hoping to not take any kind of damage, and you can see most of the shells are just harmlessly ricocheting off of my armored bow. That's exactly the plan, as I continue to pepper the enemy ship with high explosive shells, which can deal a lot of damage. We're looking at a range less than 7.5 kilometers, and I can pen 22 inches of armor. I have sent torpedoes at the enemy. Here you can see one of them, but considering the enemy has taken on some flooding, it's not likely to actually deal any kind of damage. Here comes their HE. Most of it just ricochets off. Mine didn't. Mine penetrated the aft belt, causing serious damage and even more flooding. What I really need right now is for this ship to get identified, so I can see if I can pen this or not. I suspect that I can. And seeing as they had a flash fire, they have taken a lot of damage. Lots and lots and lots of damage. Nebraska's still tanking shells like a pro. Here we go. 10-inch main belt, plus 154%, so that's more like 25 inches of armor. This means I can, at a range of 5 kilometers, pen that with AP and almost with HE. Yeah, I have pretty fair game shots on most positions. Potentially even too much so. No, it's a full pen. In reverse, I'm so well angled that they can't actually hurt me that much. Now, they used to have 8 turrets on this ship, ABCD or ABXY. ABCD as the Germans call it. The B turret is still there. The A turrets decided to jump ship. So that means they don't have any ammo for those 13 inchers. And they're effectively a really big cruiser now. I got 8.3 inch guns. I don't believe they have torpedoes. No, they don't. I do. And I'm very eager to introduce them to my torpedoes. So now that they've lost all of their ammunition, I can at will take this battlecruiser apart. And there go the torpedoes. I have to consider crew loss in my equation, so I can't just continue to go broadside and continue to take a lot of damage. So I'm still angling in, even though I'm basically just facing 8.3s and something smaller. The more damage I can ricochet with the ship, the better. And it does look like Moltke right now is going to get hit by some of these torps. The ship's already been badly flooded, and it does seem like they're still fighting one on her stern. These two might just add to the stern damage, but also open up a new flooding in their bows. If they're not duds, that is. 3 hits. Good result. 3 hits and actually no duds. 3 kilometer range. Load the high explosive. Because at this range we should be able to pen that. Yeah, that was a lot of damage. High explosive, 3 kilometer range. So let's say 5. Somewhere between 2.5 and 5. We're looking at 27 inches of armor pen with high explosive. So the damage you can deliver with those high explosive shells is ridiculous. It's especially against an already weakened opponent like Moltke. Now they're definitely trying to fall back, unsurprisingly so. We won't let them. If I could board this ship, I would. If I can't, I'll just have to sink it. The Germans are not that likely to surrender. Based on what I'm seeing, I think their buoyancy is more likely to fall before their crew surrenders. And Nebraska, well, she did take a lot of damage early on. But right now she's done 34,000 damage against 4,300. But this was a really good design by the Germans. A good duel. And unfortunately for the Germans, it lost. Moltke is no more. And that battle lightly damaged the Nebraska. Sunk the Moltke, gave me a bunch of victory points, which I really appreciate. Because the Germans are still peskying me around the transports. And while I can't actually take any action right there, I can definitely hurt them by sinking a battlecruiser over here. The invasion here, I really don't think it's going to be succeeding. It's a 1 in 3 at this point. I have way more tonnage than I need. If this does not work out, I'm going to retask my ships and take them to Germany. Because I think there is definitely more to sink here, more interesting battles to do, and potentially more terrain to take. Although Western Germany is not likely going to just go away and surrender. Neither will Spain, I can tell you that much. So, plenty more to come. Join me on the next one, will you? Make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon for the next video.